your host, Gary Austin.
Hi, this is attorney Gary Austin back answering your question on divorce, child custody, and other family law related issues. Today's question is, how will a court look at a child custody case where there are more than one children involved? I can tell you based on my experience and my research, the courts look very seriously at custody cases when there are more than one child or children involved. And they will look to try and keep siblings together unless there is some reason for them to be split up. And there are a number of things that where a court may consider, but generally they stay together. I had an issue like this recently in one of my own cases where divorce petition was filed. The one party was handling the divorce almost an uncontested default. The wrinkle in the case was that the parties had two biological children together, and those children were listed in the petition. Because one party was handling the divorce with the assistance of an attorney, they didn't list an adopted niece. The parties had adopted a niece a year before. The court, and we're 2 years out post-pandemic, ready to go to trial, and the issue of child support rears its head. Now, my clients are paying child support, but in California, when you make a petition for dissolution, all children are to be included on that. And we had proceeded for a while with the older adopted child being absented from that petition. It caused a big issue. And I can tell you, our judge now is aware of that third adopted child and absolutely wants to ensure that her voice be heard, because this is a move away case. The two children have been pretty much stripped out of the adopted child's life, even though that child had been living with them in multiple locations. These are military families, so they have moved around the country with the niece. But when the move away occurred and my client had the children ordered to be brought back to California, the one child that was ordered to be brought back, she was not in the petition, was the adopted child. Once that was brought to attention, the court pretty clearly told us we need to know about that child's input. So I can give you pretty confident advice that when you're looking at custody issues, the impact on the children, if they are split up, is going to be something that a judge or court is going to want to have as much information as possible. If the children are of age in California, usually statute says by 14, but sometimes they go a little bit earlier than that. But they're going to want to hear what the relationship was between all of the children in making a decision about whether or not they should be kept together as a unit, sometimes with one parent. Or are there any reasons maybe one child is being alienated by one child, for example, may also have a circumstance where they aren't being treated for some medical condition. I've seen that as well. And they may need to be separated to ensure, for example, it could be vaccines or something like that, to ensure that they get the proper medical treatment. If one parent has some reason, whether it be religious or other belief that's stopping them, that child may need to be separated so that they can their health, welfare, and safety can be protected from a parent who sometimes is stopping that from occurring. If you have a situation like this where siblings need to be investigated, need to be questioned, or there's a possibility of them being separated, please feel free, reach out to us, and let's see if we can work together to help you and your family. Will my personal lifestyle and choices affect the court's decision? That question, will my personal lifestyle and choices affect the court's decision? I hear it all the time. And I want to tell you, it is a strong possibility that some of your lifestyle and choices could affect custody matters. Now, there is no bright line rule. What I would suggest to people is think about the impact on the children. I'm going to give you a couple of cases that I've had and give you a contrast. I had a case about a year ago where one of the parents was dressing the children as the opposite sex. And it was a really challenging issue because my client was completely turned off by it. We brought it to the court's attention. What the court essentially told us in that case, despite our chagrin and anger about it, is you're going to need to tell me how this impacts the children, how it affects their best interest. It was not clear that it had any impact. It was more frustration from what it could potentially do to the children longer term. And whether you agree with it or not, you're going to have some, in some instances, an expert say what the impact will be to the children. I've had other cases where we talk about lifestyles and choices where, for example, drugs are used, alcohol are used. I can tell you those things that are very clear to a judge, drugs, alcohol use, particularly if it's not prescribed or lawful. Marijuana in California is lawful, but a judge can limit you taking even a prescribed substance in the children's presence. Alcohol, on the other hand, which kind of goes hand in hand with an activity such as driving. If you're driving under the influence or using marijuana while driving, there's a real potential for child endangerment. So courts will look at certain things like that, as well as, for example, smoking. Most secondhand smoking is prohibited around children. So it oftentimes will depend on what the lifestyle choice is, what the children's exposure to it, and what is a court's belief about the impact on that. There's, again, no bright line test for anything. My suggestion is always have evidence that shows the impact. You may need to consult with professionals to give you a sense of what a court or professionals in that particular field think this does to a children. I don't think there's any question about secondhand smoke, drinking while driving, and things of that nature. Some of the softer issues like lifestyle choices, you might have to have someone say what the impact is. Now, if you're facing an issue like these lifestyles or choices and what impacts they have on children, how a court may see it, please reach out to us. Let's talk and let's see if we can help you make things better for your family.